Hi, my name is Preston Sakamura. I go by PSAC, and today I'm going to be showing you how Love Me, Leave Me by DlJeezy was made, and it was produced by myself, and DlJeezy wrote the lyrics, so today we're just going to get into it. So I wanted to start first with the actual story of the song. This beat was made in September of 2023, so almost a year ago, and this song was recorded a few months later. Unfortunately, the song does come from a very unfortunate circumstance. David's mother, who's DlJeezy, passed away in November. It was a very hard loss for him, and he was going through a lot of stuff. We had met up like a month after his mother had passed, and I had showed him, was just talking with him about it, trying to just give him a break from like thinking about everything. And I played him this beat, and I was like, yeah, I think this is gonna go to one of my friends, EVT, but I wanted to just show you this to get your opinion. I play it for him, and he just starts writing. And me and Nathan, who's also in the car with us, just kind of looks at me and he's like, oh yeah, like he's got something. We both know better than to stop him from writing. So we just let him write. And he keeps writing and keeps writing. And then he stops and he goes, how does this sound? And he sings the actual hook. And we were like, wow, that's really good. I kind of realized, I was like, Evan's not going to get this beat. Like, he's just not. I know better than to take beats from David. And then we link up a few months later. We hop on it. He just cooks. He gets it done. He was extremely emotional during that session. It ends up going really, really well. And end up getting it mixed, mastering it. It's now out everywhere, and it's one of my favorite songs that I've done with him that's come out. So without further ado, let's get into the beat breakdown and the vocal breakdown of how this was made, and yeah, it'll be exciting. All right, so the first thing that I actually started with was this vocal chop, this right here. That actually comes from a song that I had worked on years and years prior, late 2021, early 2022, and it came from this song that I did with this other artist, and this is that.
We're all vibing, shining through the night. Let's keep this vibe all night, all night. Just live your life, no matter what the time. Catch this vibe.
And I ended up chopping it a little bit, throwing some effects on it. That ends up getting that result here that you hear. So that's that result. And then the first thing I think to myself is like, we need keys. And I wanted to kind of have this like this somber kind of vibe. So I threw on these keys right here. Chord progression is very basic, nothing overly complicated. To complement that sound, I also wanted to have there kind of be a layer to it, so I added this pad. It has a good amount of effects on it, just kind of trying to fill the space. So those sounds together would sound like this. And then you throw the vocal chop in it. I wanted to actually have there be more separation of sections, so I decided that the next best thing to do was to throw on an octave up of the same sample chop. So and then the last thing I added was this little like soundscape flute sound. It doesn't do a whole lot in terms of like adding like to a big picture, but it adds these little intricate micro details that end up in turn adding to the big picture. So it's not a big element itself, but it adds to the big element and makes it feel bigger. Which, God, that sounds like a headache to say out loud. Yeah, so it just sounds like this. So the next thing that comes up is the drums. So I kind of wanted to have like a kind of like a chugging kind of sound. So I went into the hi-hat pattern and I kind of had that be the premise. So this is the hi-hat. And then the snare. And then you have the kick. And then I wanted to have this big punchy sound, so instead of me kind of maybe doing less traditional sounds. I added an 808. It's just the Spins 808, and for those of you that produce in the style, y'all know the Spins 808 is like literally everywhere. You can't escape it. So this is that 808. And then in context with everything else. Next thing I wanted to add for the drum section, because that really does it for like everything in the terms of the manual creation of the drums, but I have a lot of samples of like drum grooves that I kind of hold on to just to add more depth to my drums. That's actually a technique that I learned from Kenny Beats. Shout out to Kenny Beats, even though we absolutely do not operate on the same level of fame and quality, and ended up adding that, and the original sound that you actually hear is this. So the first thing that I decided to do was I said, okay, let me roll off some low end, and then this is the thing that really makes or breaks it, is this radio EQ right here that you see. So this little handy dandy radio EQ makes it kind of feel more like, it's exactly what it sounds like. It makes it sound like it's playing through an old radio. So then I added another EQ, rolled off some lows and highs I didn't like, compressed it, added reverb and delay to it, and this is your final sound. So I'll play the drums without it, and then I'll play the drums with it. So that's without it, and then here's it with it. As you can see, it even though it's super quiet in the background, it adds so much to the larger picture. So everything is about taking care of the things that people who on the average aren't necessarily going to listen to, but they'll feel it. They'll feel that groove. They'll feel that a lot more. And even though this is a more somber track, it's not necessarily a danceable track. It's not necessarily a dance track by any means. You want to still make sure that you have a consistent pocket and that it's able to be consistently grooving and you're able to like really bob your head and keep up with the music essentially. So the next thing that I ended up adding was I wanted a distinction of sections, so I added this sub. One of the good decisions. It's really just about making sure that you have distinction and separation of sections, so that way the listener doesn't get bored. You want to make sure that you're structuring everything accordingly, that you're really making sure to actually attenuate your structuring of your song, because it's going to be easier for the writer, it's going to be easier for the artist, it's going to be easier for everybody else. It's a good habit to be in. And then the last thing that I ended up adding was rain sounds. I personally love using ambience to create a large atmosphere in my music. I think that it's a very beneficial thing to do. So I have like rain, seagull sounds if I'm feeling very beachy. I have vinyl if I want it to feel more like old and kind of retro-like, just to kind of give it that atmosphere. It gives you a very good idea when listening what you're kind of getting yourself into, so it really sets a good premise. So, rain sounds. Like I said, not overly fancy, but when you have it in context. And then I add rain sounds to it. Even though you don't particularly hear it as like such a prominent part of the song, it's like, you're not sitting here and be like, wow, that's rain noises. It serves so much underlying atmospheric purposes. So it serves such a higher purpose, even though it's such a small part, which it's always about taking care of what you can't see as a mixing engineer. So, and then the last thing that I added would be this riser. So this riser actually comes from my good friend Spine. He ended up coming to my dorm room back when I was still going to ODU and kind of like came in and was just like, oh, what if we do like a breath riser just to have one? I was like, all right. So he goes over the mic and he just goes, oh, that's it. Nothing overly crazy. And then he's like, all right, now add some reverb and reverse it. So I was like, okay, cool. So this is what that sounds like in actual context. So that is the full beat breakdown. Nothing overly crazy. It doesn't like do any of these like really crazy musical moments, but it doesn't have to. It's a simple track. It's a very simple idea. It doesn't need to be too much. It doesn't call for it. So yeah, that's everything for the beat. Overall, fantastic experience. And now we can get to the fun part. The vocals. Oh no, what about up in my band? These are the vocals. So I'll actually build this from the ground up, and you guys get to see kind of the process of how it comes together. So this is raw.
I know I can't turn back. I got too many memories I can't get back.
The first thing that I added was a CLA2A. Now, I don't use this in my chain anymore, but my thought process at the time was use it as like a vocal rider, kind of just make sure everything kind of stays a little flat and even. It's easier to work with. I've taken it out now because it makes my vocals sound very like overly compressed, and I don't like that about them. Sometimes it's good if it's a stylistic choice, but for the most part, when I work in this realm, it's not necessary. The next thing I add is some auto-tune. And for those of you that hate on auto-tune users and saying, oh, y'all can't sing, it's a tool. That's it. It allows people who have amazing, fantastic minds, who don't necessarily have the best of voices traditionally, to really execute their ideas. I don't get the hate. Maybe it's just because I'm young. With that being said, auto-tune.
I know I can't turn back. I got too many memories I can't get back.
And then I added this plugin called Fresh Air. Shout out to Spine again, because he put me on this a while back, and it is one of the greatest plugins that I have been put on. It adds like very big analog, high-end, and mid-end warmth. So I throw it on almost anything, whatever you can think of, besides low-end. No low-end around here. So yeah, add the Fresh Air.
I know I can't turn back. I got too many memories I can't get back.
Then I added the C4 multi-band compressor.
I know I can't turn back. I got too many memories I can't get back.
Add a basic EQ. Basic.
I know I can't turn back. I got too many memories I can't get back.
And then I added my first compressor, which is the CLA76. Love the CLA76, by the way. Love this plugin. Absolutely fantastic. Would use it any day of the week. It's from Waves. It's like $30. Waves is a fantastic ecosystem of plugins. Not sponsored by Waves, just a really big fan. So throw that on there, and then you throw some Ozone EQ, kind of get rid of some of the harsh stuff, and then you throw on this RVox. Now, what does RVox do, and why do I have it with the CLA76? The way that a traditional compressor works, like the CLA76, is anything above a certain volume level will get brought down to make it dynamically even. That's what compressing does. It's the reduction of dynamics and makes everything more dynamically even. Now, what RVox does is RVox actually ends up taking the opposite. It's like an upward compressor. It takes things that are underneath a certain volume and it brings them up. So why specifically RVox? Why didn't I just use any upward compressor like the NV2 or RComp? I'm pretty sure is an upward compressor. I don't have it yet. Please don't judge me in the comments. RVox also has this warmth that it adds to vocals specifically that makes them very like nice and attenuated. So without it,
I know I can't turn back. I got too many memories I can't get back.
and then with it.
I know I can't turn back. I got too many memories I can't get back.
So as you can see, it adds a little bit of low-end character. I'm not sure if you'll be able to hear it through phone speakers in particular. If you can, good for you for having good phone speakers. But if you can't, like, you will be able to hear this on earbuds or things that have more low-end in them. And then the next thing I add is a de-esser, so any little S's and T's sounds, it would just take that out and duck them out, just to make sure everything's more tonally consistent. And then I add some inharmonic saturation. So the next thing that I add this little low-end roll-off, just to make sure I'm not getting a stupid amount of low-end. And then I add some reverb. Now the reverb that I chose for this one is not one that I currently have in my rotation anymore, but it's not bad. I got it free with the Volt that I have. It was a better reverb than stock, so this is the reverb.
I know I can't turn back. I got too many memories I can't get back. I get that time gon' pass. Yeah, people come and go, man, and that's just facts.
The next thing that I'll show you guys is the delay. So the delay itself is actually just Fruity Delay. It's still stock. I just bought H Delay really recently. I threw on a radio EQ and a chorus because this is what it sounds like without those effects.
I know I can't turn back. I got too many memories I can't get back.
As you can see, it's very in your face. It also sounds very similar to the lead vocal, and that's not the sound that I'm looking for. I'm looking for a lot more of an atmospheric kind of delay. So I added some chorus and some radio EQ, and that seemed to really do the trick. This is a technique I use a lot, is the radio EQ chorus kind of thing. I've used it on lead vocals, but I've also put it on delays for atmospheric. It makes room for everything, so.
I know I can't turn back. I got too many memories I can't get back. I get that time gon' pass. Yeah, people come and go, man, and that's just facts.
So yeah, that's the entire thing. And then you have like his background vocals, for example. We use this plugin. I'll pull it up just for fun, just for SNG. I have this plugin called Doubler. It's Waves Doubler. Again, loves the Waves ecosystem, always a big fan, but it essentially takes your vocal out from the middle and puts it on the sides, and it's fantastic. I personally love it. I'm realizing my mic is actually in the way. That's really embarrassing. So this is the background vocal track number 1. So if I take that off, all the memories we shared in the back of my head, I can count on the night. Then you have background vocal track number 2. In all the good times, got too hard to forget, with all of the love that we shared. Yeah, so that's the breakdown for Love Me Leave Me by DlJeezy. One of my favorite DlJeezy records. Overall, fantastic way it turned out. Really happy with it. And if you want to stream it, it's actually out everywhere on all streaming platforms. So look up Love Me Leave Me by DlJeezy. That's DlJeezy. DlJ Make It Look Easy. My link tree is in the description. His link tree will also be in the description so you can see what else he has going on. And you can see also what else I've been working on as well if you guys are curious. So we have like Breezone, 868, EVT, shout out all those guys. And yeah, overall, can't be mad with the product. So I don't know how to do outros, man, but yeah, y'all have a good one.
I can't get you back, and that just hurts.